From the News Channel 5 Network, this is Inside Politics.
Hello, everyone. I'm News Channel 5's political analyst, Pat Nolan. Welcome to Inside Politics. It's always a great day when we can welcome to the show the governor of the great state of Tennessee, and so we welcome the Honorable Bill Haslam. Governor, thank you for being back with us
Well,
again.
thanks, Pat. I always enjoy it.
We are, once again, in budget time. You're just about through with your budget hearings. For the first 3 years you've been in office, you've been pretty lucky with the revenues. They've been going up. I think you had a surplus last year, or initially, of $342 million. But this year, in the first 3 months, it's down $100 million. Is there something about the state economy that's gone south that we need to be concerned about?
Well, I think there's some uncertainty out there. I think with the consumer and then with businesses, folks, I don't know whether it's a lot of, I think actually it's primarily a reflection of what's happening or not happening in Washington that's left people a little more lacking confidence, if you will. And I think you're seeing people spend less in the market. For us, interestingly, our sales tax is about at projection, a little bit low. It's our business taxes, the franchise and excise taxes we collect, that are off the most.
Now, in response to that, you've already asked all the departments to present to you budgets with 5% cuts. Now, sometimes those are prioritizing situations. You want to see what they'll cut if they had to cut something. But it appears in this case you may literally have to make some cuts this time.
Well, we will make some cuts. So we've made some cuts in our first three budgets as well. I think this time there's a chance those could go a little deeper. We asked for 5% to say, show us what you would do in ranking order of importance. And last year we didn't have to go that deep in them. This year we might have to go a little deeper. Hopefully we won't just go 5% across the board. I know
now,
that.
there have been some departments who've been cut for many years, and there was an audit recently, I believe, about the Department of Disabilities.
Right.
And they've had a lot of cuts. They've got a waiting list for people that's very, very long.
Right.
It's very difficult to cut a department like that when the people who are depending on this really can't help themselves.
Well, it is, and one of the things that people I think sometimes don't appreciate about government, they think you're deciding between good things and bad things when you're trying to make a budget work. Usually you're deciding between some really good programs and some other really good programs, but we can only deal with what we have money-wise. Well, one thing I will say about that audit, it was really talking about some folks that basically it's the Department of Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities, and it says you don't really have programs for developmental disabilities, or you're not doing that. Well, the truth is the state never really has done that in the past. So it's a fair question to say, should we be doing that and to what limit? But it's not like that. Those are programs that we cut.
As you look at this year's budget, you had set yourself a goal now of beginning to allow teachers in Tennessee to enjoy, if not the highest pay, the highest growing paychecks in the country. But with these cuts, how are you going to be able to give those sorts of percentage raises, although you've not named any at this point, that you'd like to give to teachers?
Right. So what we came out and said is, listen, we've asked a lot of teachers. What we're expecting of them in terms of academic standards have gone up, what it takes in time to be a teacher. We've changed the evaluation procedure, so we're saying we're treating them like professionals. If we're going to do that, and by the way, we're getting good results, the fastest improving scores in the country, then we should pay teachers like professionals as well. That's a process, and we're not going to go from where we are to being the top overnight, but we've made a commitment to be the fastest improving state when it comes to teacher pay as well.
So despite this reduction in revenues that you're receiving, it is still your commitment this year to do something for them in this upcoming budget?
We definitely are going to work toward that. Like I said, when you do a budget, you start with certain priorities, and then you do everything you can toward that, and that remains a priority.
In terms of these raises for teachers, do you see these as across-the-board kind of raises, or will they be aimed more at sort of how they're doing in terms of merit and test scores and less on their years of experience and their level of education?
Well, ultimately we want to reward teachers that produce the best outcomes rather than just what the inputs are, and so we will move toward that. We're a ways away from being able to do that, but ultimately I think that would be the goal. For now, I think it's more just that average teacher in Tennessee, what's their compensation, and can we move it closer to what it should be?
In the area of higher education, the officials have come in and told you that they'd like to keep tuition increases somewhere around 2 to 4% for the next year, but in return, they're going to need, I think I saw at least over $100 million in additional state funding. Is that a deal you can do, or is that too much?
Well, I don't know yet. I mean, when you look at tuition, it's a combination of three factors: what the parents or students pay, what the state contributes to higher education, and then how effectively and efficiently the universities can operate themselves. And we're looking at all three parts of that. the part that the students and parents pay has increased. They've borne an unfair burden of that recently, so we're trying our best to keep tuition low to make certain we don't price it out of affordability for middle class families. One of the things we want to do is to dramatically increase the number of Tennesseans with a degree. To do that, affordability is one of the pieces. It's not the only piece, but it's one of the pieces we're looking at.
Increasing the graduation rate has been is there anything else in this particular budget you want to focus on that will help increase those numbers?
Well, I think a couple things. It really is about access, and so we're trying to explore new ways to do that. We're trying to make certain it's affordable, so we'll be looking at issues around that. I think the other thing is realizing that if we're going to get to the numbers we need in terms of Tennesseans with a degree, we're going to have to take some non-traditional approaches. The 38-year-old single mother of two who's working at a firm as a bookkeeper but would like to be an accountant, it's pretty hard for her to go back and go to school in a traditional way. So some of the online capabilities are things we're going to look at expanding.
Well, we have at least 2 different online universities that the state's involved in. Why do we need 2? That sounds like it might be a duplication.
Well, no, I mean, we've the one we introduced last year, Western Governors University, actually because it's accredited, it's competency based, which we didn't have in the past. So again, take that the bookkeeper that I just described. She's been working. She understands accounts. She understands things really well. There's no really reason she should go back and take Accounting 101 because she knows that stuff to the back, on the back of her head. Let her go ahead, test up to her competency, and then take the courses she needs to complete. In the past, we've always looked at education as being how many hours you sat in a seat rather than what you knew or what you know, and I think that will change.
Governor Bill Haslam is our guest on Inside Politics. We'll continue our conversation with him after this break.